Okay guys, so this week we were asked to show some bag work drills that we can recommend for people who want to utilize karate in a more combative or self-defense situation. So first things first, if you aren't doing your keyholes on the bag, then you should start doing that. That way it's very different than punching and kicking just air, right? Even Makiwara is different since that has more of a firm resistance. So the first thing we want to show is doing your katas in front of the bag. It helps you adjust your katas to something that has a different type of surface, right? So pick any kata, you can do the entire form or just sequences from it. Same thing, you can rush in, cross punch, rush, cross punch. Instead of turning, you're just standing in one spot. Shuto-ukes can be to the corners. The nukute is the same thing. And as you turn here, you're kicking, punch, kick, punch, reinforced block, downward block, high block. And notice how the bag continues to move, right? So you're not doing it, not even in a straight line, you're still following the curves of the bag as well.
Another way you can kind of do that, you can segment it and kind of like rep it out, like in that fashion. Like exercise like daiichi and knee, right? Like you have stuff where you're kind of coming in this way, coming up, coming down, all that kind of stuff. So I'll stand here and actually push, push, punch, and then roll out. Push, punch, roll out. And that kind of like helps develop like a different feeling for what you're doing with your kata versus the classic, up here and moving back. It helps you to kind of figure out what you're doing, what you can be doing different.
Along those same lines, if you're just drilling basic punches and kicks, try to always land forward because that's going to show a different image as well. Like if you imagine kicking here, putting my foot back, and then just waiting for it to come again and kicking it and repeating this, it's not the same as kicking, landing, and making sure that you're keeping this part forward, right? So that you can do other things. So you could start repping things like that. Rather than a roundhouse coming back here, you could roundhouse, come forward, and then bring it right back. Because it builds that correct muscle memory, right? So you always go into the opponent.
That happens in real life, right? Because you kick your roundhouse, and what if they're right here? What if they close the gap on you? You have this weight now bearing down on you. You know, so if you learn to be able to fall in and then be able to receive this weight to do something else that helps you in a real situation where that just happened. You see that happening even in point competitions all the time. Somebody throws a roundhouse like this, and this guy's all over him and doesn't know what to do. Right? So I know it's a different way of using karate, but it's all applicable. It's all there, right? So
another thing to do is actually, instead of just working on striking on the bag, just using a hanging bag as a way to shift your body weight and work angles, right? So I always think about this outside forearm block that's very common in traditional martial arts. But if you see the motion of it, you're actually pushing this in and pushing it out like at an L or 90-degree angle. Same thing happens here. If I can't receive such a heavy weight like this, so it makes sense for me to receive it and push it out, right? Very much like you're redirecting the energy, receive and push out. And then from there you can start adding your pivoting into it. Because I can't just push out from my stance here because I have no power with my triceps and my shoulder this way. So it makes sense for me to shift my body weight so I can start pushing and driving with my feet instead. So if you can do these type of motions where you're just learning how to shift around the bag, maneuvering it forward and back, shifting it as well, using your stances to stop the time, to push it and pull it, dropping, even using your head.
And then once you get to the point where like this becomes easier for you to be able to lean, receive, push around, this kind of stuff, then you start adding like your strikes, right? So you're moving this way, strike, pop, strike, 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 push.
So you're learning to strike at different odd angles, right? Angles that you wouldn't have thought of if you were just standing so far away from the bag.
Yeah, because it's not always going to happen where you're able to just hear and strike somebody while you're just completely upright. Sometimes you are going to be falling, moving, that kind of deal. So
So along those same lines, once you're proficient or you feel comfortable with striking, start striking into a takedown, right? So the bag is hung this way so that allows you to add level changes. I'm not only going to be aiming for this, and my kicks aren't only going to be aimed at that, right? So I can start pushing, I can start striking, and then whenever I feel the advantageous position to start dropping and moving as well. So you can start striking into bumps, you can move and bump as well. So these are things at odd angles that you can figure out. You're not only striking and kicking, you're adding the takedowns as well. You're receiving a bump, you're pushing out of the way, you're striking at odd angles. But adding these level changes is really important because it makes the drill more alive.
Alright, so one of the other drills that you can do if you have a partner, I have like a tennis ball here that I put on the end of this stick. Basically, I'm just going to kind of put like jabs here to kind of like get, it's hard to get around here and let him work out all that stuff. And I don't really want him to be using me all the time for doing this kind of work. So we'll kind of let him free flow on the bag. And then every once in a while, I'll kind of just put this in his line of sight so that he can kind of see something coming at him. You know, the idea is not to like actually hit your opponent, really. You're just trying to give them something to kind of look at, so that they're kind of like using their peripheral vision to meet the attack, right? And then keep on going. That way he's able to kind of like move around the bag and keep it going with like the movements and stuff like that, right? Yeah, and this is an easier way to kind of get towards being able to use your techniques stronger without having to really hurt your training partner, yeah?
So one last thing, if you don't have like a body shield to put on or like a huge heavy bag, then you can use this as the main target and then have somebody holding pads on the side. So they're using those as side targets, but also using the heavy bag in the middle as well. Just things to think about. Also, you can rep Kata like this as well, right? So that way you're not focusing on just one angle. I can do Kata that way, down block, this Nahachi punch. It's all there. I mean, you can just figure out as many sequences as you want that you want to rep out, and it's gonna work on a bag.